What's up, guys? EJ here. I'm here with my very first review, and the review I'm doing for today is Dying Light. I'm here with my friend Zach,
How's it going, people?
and me and Zach, I did like at least 10 videos of this, and I did two co-op videos with Zach. You can find it on the site below. I'll leave a link. But we're gonna give our opinions of this game. Um, from story wise, game mechanics, graphics, replayability. We're gonna talk about the negative and the positives. But let's get on with the story. Let's, I'm not gonna go too deep with it, but just an overview of the
Serious
story.
question, Eddie. God damn it.
Yeah, it's all right.
All right, one, two, three, start. Serious question, EJ. How much of the story do you actually remember?
I'm glad you said that, cause
I know, right? I
I,
know, I
I'm
know.
glad you said that, cause people. I mean, me and him beat it together, and 2 days afterwards, I'm I'm I can't remember that much story. I know the
Yeah,
general outline of the story, but
I really don't either. Basically, you're a military guy. You are dropped into this zombie infection infested town. They don't really go into too much detail as to what happened in the town to make it infested with this zombie virus. They kind of touch on that a little bit at the end, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And basically, you're tasked with bringing down this military warlord. And the first part of the game is all about, like, okay, well, who is the warlord and what do you have to do to try to find him? And then the second half of the game is like, okay, well, you know who he is, and then how do you bring him down? And I appreciate the fact that it's a zombie game, but yes, curing the zombie outbreak and fighting the zombies is a big part of the game. But the real focus of the story is more on the human element. It's more about taking down the military dictator. It's about fighting the actual other the opposing military faction, which is a little different, I think, than a lot of zombie games out there, which just kind of throw endless hordes of zombies at you, and that's the main focus of the game. And don't get me wrong, I mean that's a huge part of Dying Light, killing the zombies. Playing that game for 5 seconds would tell you that.
yeah.
But I think I'm just saying that it surprised me that there were actual enemies that weren't just zombies, and you really, and this we can touch on this more. I think in when we actually start talking about the gameplay, but it was an interesting dichotomy. I think by how you approach, say, a fight against one of the zombies versus how you would fight them, say, like one of the actual people, like the humans or the people in the military, the opposing force that you'll fight.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and get off the story. We're just gonna go into game mechanics. Game mechanics. I'll say like this: Dying Light. I'm just gonna flat out say Dying Light is just an upgraded version of Dead Island. Zach. I know you haven't played Dead Island. From a guy who did play Dead Island, this is just an upgraded version. This is what they wanted Dead Island to be the first time.
Well, I know the developers created the Dead Island series, and like you said, I'd
Yes.
never played Dead Island. I think maybe if I had, I would have a much more negative opinion on the game. So, just the gameplay mechanics in general, even though they are, I'm told, a rehash of Dead Island, were essentially fresh to me. So I'll probably look at them maybe in a more favorable light than you will, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of things in Dying Light that, even having not played Dead Island, that I was just a little bit, that just annoyed me a little bit. I would
Yeah.
probably say.
But let's just go over the game mechanics real quick. Uh, the main draw to Dying Light is basically the parkour. Basically,
I I I, I don't really think so, and I'm gonna tell you why. The parkour in Dying Light, for the most part, is used as a method of getting around, but it is not used um, as a mechanic in a whole lot of the missions. It's not like there's not that many missions. There are some, and they're
I
they're very
understand that is,
they can be
but I mean,
frustrating.
like I said, from a guy who did play Dead Island, that's basically what it is. It's just, whoa, we got Dead Island right here, the same mechanics from Dead Island, but we're gonna toss in parkour, and that's what it is. That's what a lot of people is gonna be going by.
I appreciate that, like, there's that added element there that, you know, if I'm trying to run from zombies and I can jump on roofs and jump from rooftop to rooftop, and, you know, when you actually level up your character, which we'll probably touch on that in a minute, you know, you get access to a grappling hook, which essentially makes you like Spider-Man.
You don't even use parkour after that.
A lot easier to, you know, escape from zombies and to go from point A to point B, and it makes it a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not that many missions in the game that are designed around the use of parkour. There are some, but thankfully there aren't enough to where you start feeling like the parkour really gets in the way of the game. I think there's not that many games that really do parkour that well. Assassin's Creed, I think, probably does it just about as good as anyone. Most of the time, though, when you start thinking about a game telling you that it uses a parkour system, you kind of think about Mirror's Edge, where you're going to have just a bunch of jumping puzzles, and you got to figure out, okay, you know, I'm supposed to jump from this pipe to this pipe, you know, this red-colored ledge to this other red-colored ledge, and sometimes when I'll hit the jump button, he grabs onto the ledge, and sometimes he doesn't. And don't get me wrong, I mean, there is some of that in this game, but it's nowhere near as prevalent, I think, as some people might lead you to believe.
Yeah. Combat-wise, how do you feel about the combat-wise? Because it was okay with me. It's slightly better in certain situations, but it was okay unless you're fighting a more intelligent AI like the human enemies, which got kind of annoying.
Well, I tell you what, and I don't think that the human enemies were any more or any less intelligent. It's just you would approach those fights differently. But the combat mechanics, I liked them pretty well. It reminded me a lot of Elder Scrolls in that there are ranged weapons, so there are guns like shotguns, rifles. For the majority of the game, you either won't have a gun or you really won't have enough ammo to where you can use them exclusively. So most of the time, you are using like a crowbar, a baseball bat, a sledgehammer, any number of melee weapons, and the actual act of hitting the zombies with the weapons and the feel of the combat, it's very, very visceral. There's a lot of weight behind the feel of the combat. It's just fun to just whack random zombies in the face. It's fun to watch what happens in the chaos that you can create. But it's kind of interesting the leap in gameplay from like your character when he first starts out to your character at the end of the game. And I think if we would have spent more time with the side missions, this would have even been more pronounced.
Yeah.
But when you first start playing the game, it's almost like a stealth game because you have so few hit points. You have such a small amount of attack power, and your weapons break all of the time. It's not to mention the weapons themselves really aren't that strong to begin with. You really have to spend more time just kind of sneaking around than you do actually fighting the enemies, because even your standard garden variety zombie, which, by the way, as far as trying to go from point A to point B, they're not really that annoying because they move so slowly. But when you're actually having to fight one of them, it really becomes an exercise in frustration, at least initially, because they take so long to kill. But by the end of the game, you may as well be some kind of zombie killing ninja because of all the crazy things that you can do and just how quickly you can kill the zombies. And I sort of feel like they should have found a happy medium between the two, because it just seems like it's too big of a jump between when you first start playing the game to the very end of the game.
Here's me kind of going back to Dead Island. Dead Island had a little mechanic. As you level up, the zombies level up. So if you level up one, they level up. You in that game, you can never like overpower a zombie, and a lot of people got kind of mad at that. It's like, what's the point of having all these abilities if I can't freaking easily kill these guys? But in this, now once you get the abilities, you can easily kill these guys, and it's kind of like Techland can't win. It's like it's kind of hard for them to find that happy medium.
Well, no, look, I appreciate being able to kill the zombies faster because if you design a game where your city is infested with thousands upon thousands of zombies, generally it's more fun to mow through them quickly than it is to
Yeah,
whack them in the head 47 times before they finally die. And there's a lot of that in Dead Island. Even when you level up your character, there are still some enemies that
yeah,
are not bullet sponges because you really don't have access to guns, but they might as well be. Only you're using melee weapons and hitting them over and over and over again, and then your weapon breaks, and then you repair your weapon, and then you hit them again. Now, I will say, we're talking about the difference in the human enemies versus the zombies. And that's kind of where the gunplay comes in.
yeah.
A lot of the humans have guns,
In
and
certain missions, like, let's say like this, and when you going off and doing airdrops, they're just using regular weapons. But once in certain missions, like going to find Jade, helping her in her mission, yeah, they're gonna have guns in that particular instance.
well, they have guns, and then when you kill them, they drop guns, and so
Yeah,
you get their guns. And before you know it, anytime there's a mission where you have to kill human enemies, it almost becomes a first-person shooter
yeah.
because they supply you with way more ammo than you would actually need. So I always thought that was kind of cool, in that I didn't think the shooting mechanics were that great. Actually, I thought they were terrible. They were probably the same in Dead Island. I really can't comment on that.
And it
Um,
is.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you this. Compared to Dead Island combat gunplay, I like it. It wasn't that. It's not that bad. I kind of enjoy it. I
It
mean,
was a nice change of pace from
yeah,
just bashing zombies in the head with tire irons and things like that.
but yeah. But there's another feature that I kind of glance over is the day and night cycle. In the daytime, it's okay. I mean, we're just like la la la, la just jumping over buildings, just beating zombies without a care. But at nighttime, I became a bitch and I got scared. And there were times when I left you the moment I saw 3 or 4 Uber zombies. And like,
Well, yeah, I mean that's the way that I think that's the way that most people are, and that's how they designed that game. And at first, you play the game and you start to think that day and night are dictated by the storyline, but then you reach
no,
a certain
yeah,
point where that's not the case. Day and night progresses naturally, and I don't know, how many minutes or hours comprise the day and night cycle. But you can actually sleep from day to night or from night to day or whatever. So you can choose, what time of the day that you want to complete a mission. And some missions are only available at night,
yeah,
for example. And it was really, it's kind of a thing where a lot of people were saying, well, at night you're spending a lot of time running as fast as you can away from these powerful zombies that can essentially instant kill you. That's true in a sense, but that's really only true if you get spotted because nighttime is basically a giant stealth mission.
yeah,
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but like ability gains and things of that nature are doubled when you play at night.
yes.
But there are these powerful zombies that are all over the map, and you can see them, and you can see their cone of vision, so you know how to avoid them. So
Hmm.
if you're skilled enough to avoid the zombies that I'm talking about, you'll actually progress through the game a lot faster, completing as much of it as you can at night. And plus, generally, it's just a lot creepier because you can't see as well. So you're running into the massive hordes of zombies that are around in the daytime. They don't go anywhere. They're still there, but you can't see them. And all of a sudden you're walking, on the street, or you're running to a mission location and you get jumped by a zombie that you didn't even see.
Yeah,
So nighttime is actually the difference between night and day is actually a lot of fun. It's an interesting mechanic.
I do. Yeah, and I do appreciate that because, like I said, when we were doing a co-op, I left you so many times. I like, oh, I can help you, Zach. I can help.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm out. I just see you at
Yeah.
the base, and I really do. I enjoyed nighttime. I mean, it was scary for me. Like, I want to go out there and help you. Like, then that fourth mega zombie came in. Like, yeah, you pretty much dead. So I'm just gonna let you go. And
I
I just
think
see
you can actually kill them though,
you
but it
can't.
was
You can't.
very challenging
I
to do.
killed one before, and it gave me 1,000 combat points.
Wow.
Yes. So killing one, it has its benefits, but it's hard.
How did you
It's,
manage to kill it?
yeah, I saw a guy on YouTube, kind of like a little
Cool.
cheat.
Yeah.
Basically, I went to the harbor.
Mhm.
Basically, I was standing on one edge, and when the Uber zombie jumps at me, I just hit him while he's in midair, and he just fall into water, and he'll just drown. Cause the zombie can instantly die when they drown.
Wow.
So it was kind of cheap. So I was just leveling up my combat points like that. Like, well,
So that's how you got so far ahead of me,
yes,
isn't it? Uh-huh.
it was
Yeah.
so cheap.
The truth finally comes out in this review. That's how you got your character so far ahead of where I was the last time
But yeah, it was fun. I really
you power
do.
leveled yourself.
You got to. It didn't help later on though, cause we was getting. Oh, it, people. I'm not gonna spoil it. Let's just say towards the end, we were doing a mission to get back to the tower, and it was nighttime. We could not progress correctly because it was so many zombies. Plus, it was 6 Uber zombies in that location.
Is
So
that the part where in I don't this is probably another spoiler, so I'm gonna throw up the spoiler tag again. Spoiler. There are essentially two city zones in the game. There's the slums and there's Old Town. So is that when you're leaving Old Town to go back to the slums right before the final mission and we got lost in the sewers? Is that what you're talking about?
yes, yes. Let's go ahead and get into the graphics. I like it. I mean, it's okay. It was suitable for the only gripe I have with that. Every single zombie was bald. I know you want to say like, well, they're decaying, but every single zombie was bald.
Well, just ask Ubisoft. I mean, if they had to program hair for the zombies, the game would have been in development for another 6 months.
But the thing is, though, their previous game, no, this wasn't Ubisoft, but I mean,
But this is next gen hair, Eddie. There's a lot more polygons involved with this hair
if
than
Dead Island can have hair on their enemies,
yes,
this is
but
all there is. This is all there is, though, man. Why can't they have hair on these damn zombies? Come on.
yes, but EJ, this game, the PS3 and the Xbox 360, it cannot handle this game. It has to be done only on the power of next generation consoles and PC.
But we were playing on PS4s.
Which, by the way, graphically speaking, just as far as the texture quality, the lighting, I don't understand why this game couldn't come out on the 360 or the PS3. I think there are better looking games that were ported to last gen consoles. Shadow of Mordor is an example. Now that port, I think, is pretty bad, just from what I've seen of it, but it's there. I mean, if you still have a PS3 or a 360 and that's all you have, that's your only way that you're going to play that game. And so I kind of think it's the same thing here. Yes, the best experience is on PS3 and 360, but just graphically speaking, I don't see why it doesn't look good enough to me to justify it being a next gen exclusive. Now, if you want to talk about like the number of zombies on screen at once and things like that,
Yeah,
I mean, I guess
good.
that's pretty cool.
That's pretty good. I mean, you can
I
see that in our first co-op video. It was, we went to the like electrical area, the electric plant to do a mission, and you cannot get you couldn't go anywhere because there was so many near you.
Yeah, and again, to draw another comparison to Dead Island, like I never played Dead Island, so I don't know how many zombies would you find in one area at a given time in that game. But then you look at a game like Dead Rising, which is a series that I've never played. I really want to get into that series.
Yeah.
But I've seen screenshots, and the screen is filled with zombies.
Yeah.
So again, I don't see how the PS3 and 360 couldn't handle this game. But I applaud the developers for focusing their efforts on next gen. I wish more developers would do that. I sort of feel like the last gen consoles are in a lot of ways holding back, what the type of game that we could see on PS4, on Xbox One.
Yeah. I'll give it that. So we're gonna go ahead and start the negatives. The negative, I saw like this. I had some problems with the parkour. There were times when I see an object like, okay, I'm gonna jump there and grab it, but I couldn't. It just it's right there in front of me, but I couldn't grab on for some reason. What about
Oh,
you?
yeah. I mean, and again, I said it earlier. The parkour does not get in the way of the game that much, but when it does, it really does.
Yeah, especially when
Uh,
you get chased by so many damn zombies, especially Ubers.
Probably the biggest example of that is the final mission of the game, which I probably had to replay about 25 times because I kept dying in the sewer because of the stupid jumps that I was having to try to make. And the final mission, again, is probably the worst in the game. Um, because it is 75. No, no, no. It's more than that. It's like 99%
Parkour.
parkour based, and then the final boss fight is, surprise spoiler, a QTE battle. And it's not even a good QTE battle. Like, and I say good versus bad QTE. Like, look at a game like Uncharted 3, which I understand, EJ, that you've never played Uncharted 3,
Not yet.
but
Yeah.
go back and play it, or watch a YouTube video of the final boss, quote unquote, in Uncharted 3, and it's like watching an interactive movie scene. And this game, it didn't feel like a movie at all. It just felt like a video game with instant fail QTE. So if the B button flashes on screen for 2 seconds, if I'm a millisecond short of pressing the B button, it's game over, and I have to start not all the way from the beginning of the mission, thank God, but from just the beginning of the QTE. And it was just wasn't that. I mean, believe me, after playing the game for probably over 8 hours straight, I was glad that it ended that way and not some boss fight that would have taken 30 minutes.
I was a little bit
But
disappointed.
yeah, I mean, at the same time, it's a little bit underwhelming. And if you're, like I said, if you're gonna have a QTE, make it cinematic and make it interactive. So, like, if you fail a part of the QTE, then you get a cutscene that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise if you hadn't have failed. And only die if you fail so many times.
My last gripe, my only gripe after this is basically I understand why they did this, but I kind of wish they didn't. Is basically the durability of the weapons.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I understand why they did it, but when it's just simple items like a crowbar that has a crowbar.
I don't mind it breaking, but I swear to you, there are some fights where your weapon will break like 2 or 3 times before you finally kill what you're trying to kill.
Yeah, it's just
That's ridiculous.
I think like again. I'm sorry. It's just a crowbar.
It's
You
annoying.
think you think a crowbar would have way more durability than anything else?
It's just an annoying mechanic. And like you said, I mean, it makes sense why your weapons would break. I mean, primarily because it's a survival game. You want to feel, like you're in a constant state of chaos. You always want to feel like, you're coming into a situation without the resources that you need to accomplish the mission, and you're just trying to get by with what you can find in the environment. It's a lot like The Last of Us in a sense like that, but I just feel like I'm okay with the weapons breaking because obviously then you just have this endless inventory of all these weapons that never broke.
Yeah.
But let's tone down the breaking a little bit. And yes, there are some abilities that you get later on in the game that will make you or that will make your weapons last longer. And again, like we talked about earlier, a lot of those abilities and advantages you had late in the game should have been available to you from the start because they just make the game a lot more fun to play
Yeah.
towards the end than they do at the beginning. And it's important that when you level up in a game like this, that where you spend so much of your time leveling up and improving your character, customizing your abilities, it's important that you feel more powerful by the end of the game than you did in the beginning. But I just don't think it's good game design when the game just becomes more fun to play when you're a higher level than it did when you're a lower level. And that's a lot of what um, Dying Light felt like to me. It was just a lot more fun to play when I got closer to the end than it did when I was at the beginning, when I really didn't have all the resources that I needed, and the enemies took forever to kill, and weapons were breaking constantly. It was more frustrating than fun, and that it kind of touches on something else that I just want to bring up. In that we played through the majority of the game together via co-op, and I think this is really more of a co-op game.
Yeah.
I probably would not have finished Dying Light if you and I hadn't teamed up for co-op, because it's not that fun playing by yourself. It's a lot more frustrating than fun, again, because it just seems like a lot of the missions, it's just, I don't see how you would complete them by yourself unless you either were very skilled at the game, which, you could at least applaud them for that. It's good that they produce content in a game that requires you to actually be, skilled at what you're playing. Or B, this content was actually designed for more than just one person. And I gotta feel like in today's environment that the content really was designed with more than just one person in mind. Even though the final mission, again, the final mission is solo only. So if you play the co-op, if you play through 100% of the game with your buddy, you got to do the final mission solo. Yeah. Sorry.
And again, like, the final mission shouldn't be that hard because it's a QTE. So
it's not hard. It's just really, really frustrating.
Yeah.
Because that is where all of the bad things that, the just the stereotypical bad things that people complain about in QTE games, that all comes to light in the final mission. And that is a very poor time for something like that to come to light, because your final mission should be the most fun and the most challenging, but not challenging in a, oh my god, this game is broken way, but challenging in that it encourages you to use the skills that you've gained throughout playing the game for as long as you have, and then also to draw upon the abilities that you have gotten for yourself as you play through the game and increase the power level of your character.
Yeah. But yeah, I just had a few of those negatives. That what really got to me at the time. But let's go ahead.
What about the side content?
We
didn't really play much of that.
I only did. That's another thing. I wasn't really engrossed with the side quests.
I guess we can't really call it a negative or a positive since we didn't really play it enough. But it just seemed to me like what I did play, the side content. Well, let me say this. I'm sure there's a lot of replay value in there for people that they want to play through the side content. They want to get all the airdrops. They want to get through the. They just want to go out and explore the game world. Yeah. And exploring the world. Just going around killing random zombies and looting all the airdrops. I mean, that's a lot of fun.
It really is.
But just in terms of the optional side content, the side quests, and there are some side quests that are fairly memorable, like that one early in the game where you're having to get like chocolates in the video for spoiler for the kid and his mom.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that there. We're gonna explain what happened to the mother, but it was a fun mission. I really do, even though getting those chocolates was kind of annoying for me, because I don't know.
The side missions just seemed to me like they were a lot of fetch quests. I mean, that's probably as much as I'll say about that.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and hop into some positive. I like the parkour, even though it frustrated me a couple of times, but playing through the game, playing co-op, it was fun. I really do love the flow of it. Just hopping on buildings, jumping on cars, hell, jumping on zombies' heads. It was fun. It really got even more. It even opened up more once I got the grappling hook. After that, I just like. Whee!
Yeah, I mean the parkour is kind of a double-edged sword in that, because. For the majority of the game, and again, a lot of the side content may have expanded upon that, but for the majority of the game, the missions aren't based around your ability to do parkour, but the parkour just facilitates your ability to move around the city. And I appreciate that, because it was fun. It was a fun mechanic to run from point A to point B and to get away from the zombies, but it wasn't constantly in your face, and you weren't tasked with a whole lot of scenarios where you had to, perform some kind of a jumping puzzle to get where you want to go, and then you can't, as you mentioned in your negatives, like you're trying to grab ledges and you couldn't grab onto them. I mean, that kind of stuff is there, but it's lessened a lot more compared to a game like Mirror's Edge or something like that, where that was probably the biggest complaint of that game was that the parkour just. I mean, not only did you not know where to go a lot of the time, and it's you had to sort of first of all you had to figure out what you were supposed to do and how you were supposed to go where you're trying to go. But then even when you knew where you were going to go, it just actually getting there was a challenge because the game wasn't always responding well to what you wanted to do. But the way Dying Light for the most part handles the parkour, it's not invasive. It's just a means of traveling around, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. You got any more negatives? Cause I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping this up. You got any more positives? I mean.
No, I honestly no. I think we're pretty much good to go.
All right. What about replayability? You think you see yourself playing this again?
Do I? No, I don't think so. Not me. I mean, I'd like to try out like 4-player co-op. I think that would be a lot of fun. But I probably won't play it again just because I'm the kind of guy that, for the most part, I'll play through like the main story. I might do some side content here and there, but
yeah.
When I finish the main story, like to me, the game is over. There's not really a whole lot else that I like to do after that. So no, I probably wouldn't play it again. But I tell you what, it does have a lot of replayability because there is a lot of side content out there, be it good or bad.
Yeah.
I'll leave that up to the people that are actually going to play through it. And there's a lot to see and do in the game. There's a lot to find. There's a lot of hidden Easter eggs and content that you would only find if you're just out there exploring the game world.
Yeah. Also, another thing, I think I kind of overlooked this last feature because I couldn't be able to do it was be the zombie mode.
I did not touch that mode.
I couldn't touch it because a lot of people naturally cut that stuff off. Like you don't allow people to invade your game.
Well,
like, it's understandable.
I heard that people were getting spammed with it.
I couldn't find it, but everybody on my friend list, like they had that sucker closed. Like,
but
no.
is it nighttime only? Did I hear that it was only at nighttime?
Yeah, I think you can only be the zombie at nighttime. I might be wrong, and I apologize for that, but I think you can become the Uber zombie.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty cool game mode, but really we just didn't really test that out.
Yeah, like I said, I wanted to try it out, but like I said, a lot of my friends no invasion, and I understand that because I really don't want to be trolled while playing my game. Like I'm already running from computer AI, Uber zombies. Last thing I need is a player coming in at the last moment when I think I'm about to be free. He just comes in and trolls me. That's the last thing I need.
Watch Dogs.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean replayability. Yeah, I mean I'll probably play again. Mostly to actually this time fully play all the side missions, but it probably that be that one time.
Yeah.
But other than that, to be honest, yeah, I mean I play it just to do the side missions. Other than that, I had my fill. It was a fun game. Co-op is where it shines the most, and yeah. Let's go ahead and give a score. Let's go ahead and wrap this up.
I think for me, it falls somewhere between the range of like a 6.75 and a 7. If it was a single player game, I would probably be a lot less kind. I would probably give it, a 5.5 or a 6. But it's a lot of fun just to mess around and co-op with a buddy or two. And now I will say this. Like, okay, I'm giving it, a 6.5, a 7.5 or a 7, which for a lot of people that's terrible. That's not terrible. That's average. So, the game came out in January. There wasn't a whole lot else out there to play on next-gen consoles as far as new games are concerned. So, you know what? If you're going through a drought and you don't really have any new games coming out that you want to play and you just want to pick up something real quick, even if it is $60, if you just want to pick up something to play through, over the week or over the weekend, by all means, pick up Dying Light. It's a lot of fun. I just don't expect the game to blow you away because it won't.
I'm gonna say buy it used. If you see it at GameStop, it was used. Go ahead, pick it up then. I mean, it's a fun game. It is a game that you can have fun with, especially
Yeah,
with co-op. But I say buy it used.